Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. Is this on? Yes? Can you all hear me? Great. Well, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for thinking about the Mental Capacity Act as something that might be empowering. I assume that you think that because that's why you're here. I think it should be empowering. I think we've got to make it empowering, and I think you've got to help us make it empowering. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Today, I'm going to talk about four things, I think. I'm going to talk a little bit about institutions, because some people live in institutions. I'm going to talk a little bit about people living in the community. I'm going to talk a little bit about who should be doing the empowering work. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Mental Capacity Act. So, if we start with a sociologist who spent, about 50 years ago, he spent a year working in an institution as a care worker. This was in America, and it was a large institution. It had some 7,000 people living in it at the time. And he published lots of essays and lots of books about it. And he basically said that institutions may be dangerous. They might be dangerous because they expect people to play certain roles. They expect the staff to play certain roles, and they expect patients to play certain roles. And that is a dangerous situation. I thought we'd have a quick think about what the word danger means, because danger doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as bad. It could be dangerous crossing a road, but it doesn't mean it's bad crossing the road. So we have to think about what the word dangerous means and how we protect against things that could be dangerous. And I think there's four ways of looking at danger in institutions. There's a danger of physical harm. For example, in Winterbourne, we saw things about physical harm. There's danger of neglect, about people not being cared properly. There's danger that people's identity is being damaged in some way, and danger that human rights are restricted. So prevention and empowerment is all about stopping these dangers from happening. I'm going to skip that. Let's look at communities for a moment. What prevents and what empowers people in communities? If people have good personalised care plans, that empowers people. If there's a choice about what support packages they have, that empowers people. If people are offered direct payments and they take them up, that's empowering. If people are helped to have strong voices in reviews, that's empowering. When people have a circle of support, that's empowering. And consulting people, choosing who should be consulted, whether it's family members or friends or advocates, that's empowering too. Lots of people should be doing empowerment. The government should be doing empowerment, and that's us, Department of Health and other government departments. The courts should be doing empowerment, and there should be lots of guidance on empowering as well. The regulators, the CQC, should be doing empowering, the College of Social Work, and commissioners. Commissioners have a very, very big role in empowering, in purchasing and commissioning and contracting in relation to empowerment. Managers and staff, that could be, for example, you. Managers building relationships and partnerships with service users, that should be empowering. And investing in these relationships through training, through helping, through scrutiny, all of this should be empowering. Social workers, I think it's an important role that you have, not just in protecting people, but also empowering people, in being client-led, in visiting clients, in empowering clients to ask, to complain, to report, and helping people, clients, to lead their own reviews. And you've also got a big role in whistleblowing, again, like in Winterbourne. So how does the Mental Capacity Act help us to do empowering? Lots of ways. It's got to focus on people who may lack capacity. So it's one of the few pieces of legislation which is almost entirely around people who may lack capacity to make decisions and who need help to make decisions. And the Act says we have to focus on people's wishes, and we have to help them make their own decisions. The Act has some empowering principles, and the Act's got lots of champions and ambassadors, people who think it's a useful piece of legislation, people who want to use it. I want to talk about 9 ways of using the Mental Capacity Act, and as I've only got 10 minutes, I'm going to rush through them. One of the first things that the Act says is that professionals need to help people make decisions. So it's not make decisions for them or about them, but it's help people in all contexts to make their own decisions where possible. The other thing that the Mental Capacity Act says is that care plans should have wishes and feelings in them. So if you're working on a care plan, or if your relative has a care plan, look to see where the person's wishes and feelings is there. Is it documented? Does it say this person likes this things, wants to do these things, likes to go horse riding, wants to do art, whatever it is that in the care plan? And are people being helped to have their wishes and feelings? Care plans should also be based on life stories. So people looking after other people should know a bit about the history of that person, should know what good experiences they've had, what poor experiences they've had, and should build on that. The Mental Capacity Act also says there should be an assumption of capacity. So no matter what form of learning disability somebody has, the assumption, the starting point should be that they have the capacity to make a lot of decisions. And that, of course, means that professionals have to offer choices so that people can make decisions about them. A fifth thing that the mental capacity says is that there is a right to make unwise decisions. We need to think about what that means, doesn't it? It often means risky decisions. And if we're social workers, care workers, it's difficult to allow other people to make unwise decisions and risky decisions. But the Act says that people are allowed to, and that we have to help them with that. Then the Act talks about best interests. It talks about making decisions and helping people to make their own decisions in a framework that's called best interests. So what is in somebody's best interests? Another thing the Act talks about is choosing things which are less restrictive of people's rights and freedoms. So it's about thinking what a person's right to family life is, if they're an institution, what their right to privacy is, their right to be involved in the community and in social activities. And all these have to be done in a way that's least restrictive of their rights. And then there's questions for people who are managers about how we plan a service around mental capacity issues at its heart. And then finally, I just want to say something about something that's called the deprivation of liberty safeguards. It's a horrible term, and people often focus on the word deprivation. They think it means taking something away. A deprivation of liberty safeguard, you have to focus on the word safeguards. It's a safeguard for people who are unable to do things and therefore need to be constrained and restricted and deprived in a care home or in a mental hospital or a different hospital setting. The safeguards are actually positive safeguards. So if somebody is offering you a deprivation of liberty safeguard in relation to a relative, it's actually very empowering for the person and very empowering for the family. It means a person gets an advocate. It means a person can take things to court for free, to the court of protection, and it safeguards the rights of the person through a whole series of assessments. So that's a positive way of thinking of a deprivation of liberty. So I'm going to stop there because I've been told 10 minutes only, but I'm very happy to answer questions at the end of the session. Thank you.